How to find your right color palette for the holiday season and not go contrasting with too many colors. That's the big question of the day, as focus still remains on your stimulus check. And not one, not two, but 3 grant programs are announced here in California in just the last few days. They're being announced all across the country. This is Right Now Money, and this is focus for this channel as stimulus is still coming, but this money is money you can get right now. It's incredible, great news, and this is the midday show here on LALATE. Holidays, LALATE. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Holidays LALATE, our fun, lighthearted midday show that talks a little bit about stimulus for about 10 minutes and then goes right into some holiday cheer, how to get through the holiday spirit economically with no money at all, using existing stuff or repurpose or just on pennies on the dollar. It's a lot of fun, it's a lot of lighthearted, and it's simple and carefree. I'm so glad you joined me. Please go for the fun channel, subscribe, because we're doing a lot of programming throughout the day. And we're getting you money right now. We're not getting you money 5 months from now, 5 weeks from now, but money right now. And we're also detailing the money that's planned to receive, for you to receive, like $2,400 of SSI, SSDI, upwards of $2,600 or $4,000, the $50,000 grant, and more, but that's not money right now. I know you need money right now, and that's what I'm doing on this channel as well. Also, like this video. It helps so that the video appears higher in the rankings. In this video, I'll be going over not 1, but 2, but 3 grant programs are announced today in California, and it's exemplary of the money right now, which I'm covering on this channel. Remember, there's 3 types of monies right now. Money under CARES Act 1, EIDL, and escalated unemployment benefits. Then I'll be turning to Congress and what could be coming this week and more about that $2,400 SSDI, SSI, and Social Security benefits. And then the 10-minute mark, we turn to this holiday decor. You see how colors can sometimes work and sometimes not work. And I'll be answering your questions about how to keep it intact and not go overboard. All right, let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news as you sit here today is that California residents are ecstatic because not 1, not 2, but 3 grant programs have been announced within days. Grant programs are being announced all across the board, and this is what I'm talking about in Right Now Money. There's 3 types of Right Now Money that I detail on this channel. Money from CARES Act 1, which is grant program under the CARES Act 1 program, $150 billion given to states that are now giving to cities and counties. They have to use it or lose it. Second, EIDL money. And third, escalated unemployment benefits. If you are an SSDI, SSI, Social Security benefit, or railroad benefits, or a veteran, or retired, or on Social Security, the first one, the grants are the ones that you want to tune into. I've got a lot of viewers, a lot of money, and it's usually for rent, for utilities, or for stimulus checks. Then for my business owners, it's for anything that's business related. And then for my hazard pay workers, essential workers, there's essential worker grants. Then when we turn to escalated benefits, that's on anyone on unemployment. I can raise your escalated benefits if you made a certain amount of money in 2019 earnings. And finally, EIDL. That's for my Uber, Lyft, my Grubhub, my Airbnb, and any independent contractor. Now, minutes before going on air for this recording here on the LALATE studio, I went online and did what I tell you to do. Look for grants by looking on Google News for CARES Act plus grants plus your city or county. In this case, because I wanted to see what's going on across the entire state, I used the word California instead of Los Angeles, which is both the city and county here. So I used California, and what do you know? Up came Modesto, up came Alameda, up came another county. And when you looked at them, it was categorically incredible. 1, they were announced just within days, or they're coming up within a day or two. 2, they were the things that exactly the viewers of this channel need: rent, utilities, food, stimulus checks. And then another one was for actually arts. The arts, believe it or not. So it was not one of them was actually for business related. Ultimately, there's always people that jump into the comments and say there's nothing but. That's categorically incorrect. There's always something but exactly the opposite of what you're reporting. So what's incredible great news is that there's grants being announced all around the clock. This morning on Mornings LALATE, I detailed one county. Now, this is a big county. This is not a small county. This is Orange County in Florida, not Orange County in California, Orange County, New Jersey. And they announced a stimulus check grant program this morning, and they went live this morning, and within minutes they had 15,000 applications processed online and had to shut it down. They maxed out. Now, this was not the only time they did it. They've done it before and they're going to do it again. But you see the demand. You see the demand. One of the viewers of this channel, who's a senior citizen, she understood what I was talking about. She was retired, senior citizen, stay at home, no job, doesn't work, but just a retired senior. And she understood she could get potentially rent or food. And she was in Florida. This was a few weeks ago. So she did exactly what I said to her. She went online and she looked for those grants and she found it for herself. She told her girlfriends, all seniors, all retired, went and saw that the application window was closing by 5 p.m. the day she was looking, put it in, everyone else put it in, came back to me a few weeks later and said, we all got approved. What's important to understand about these programs, the hardest things about them, is that they're there and then they're gone. They come and then they go. So if they're not here on a Monday, they may be here on a Tuesday. Or if they're not here on a Tuesday, they may be here on a Wednesday. This is incredible, great news, because this is money that is use or lose money. Now, ironically, in some cases, when we talk about the lose money may ultimately go back to, will ultimately go back to Washington and can be repurposed as a stimulus check. There's currently about $800 billion of CARES Act 1 money unused that's at SBA that can be sent out as a $5,000 stimulus check. By executive order by the president, put pen to paper, it would be in your hand within 10 days, or by act of Congress. It's incredible, great news. But with this use or lose money about to be lost, a lot of it's going back and could make the stimulus check even bigger. Next, EIDL and also escalated benefits. Escalated benefits, I'm getting a lot of really great questions. The bottom line is, how much money did you make in 2019? If you made a certain amount of money in 2019, which is about 18,000 or more is when you should focus on this, then you should absolutely look into it. If you made over 30,000 in 2019, you're crazy if you don't look into it, because it could raise your benefits. Ultimately, you could raise your benefits $100 to $200 a week if you made a certain amount of money in 2019, and that's retroactive. Yes, it's retroactive. And someone in the comments said, how retroactive is it? It's retroactive to the date at which you certified your application. So a lot of my viewers in Purple Power chat last night at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, I asked, when is your date of certification for unemployment? 90% of them said March or April. So that's 30 weeks. Understand that when you're doing escalated benefits and trying to raise your base level benefits, you're dealing with 30 weeks of back pay you could be raising up. $1, $30 in your hands. $100, $3,000 in your hands. $200 a week, $6,000 in your hand. You have to understand the focus and the goal, and that is categorically incredible. Finally, EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster, on SBA.gov. People have been asking, what if I did this and this and this and this and this? The important thing to understand, because I haven't done a lot of EIDL like I did back in the day. I used to do 2 videos a day, almost 45 minutes of recordings of EIDL per day, answering almost every version of EIDL that I could. What's important to understand is you only need one thing to qualify for EIDL. So if you're an employee at Macy's and you're an employee at Home Depot, but you also are a party planner on the side, and as a party planner you made $8,000 in 2019 and had Schedule C, go get it. Doesn't matter that you had Uber, or doesn't matter if you had Home Depot or Macy's as your W-2 as well. Next, if you have 2 businesses that are totally separate, they can both get EIDL. Separate accounts, separate EINs, everything is separate. I've had a lot of viewers who have had multiple EIDL applications because they had multiple businesses that are kept very separate. Go get them as well. Finally, the $2,400 for SSDI. This is incredible, great news. So the Biden plan proposes to pay you $2,600 for SSDI. This is money that you really need. And when I say SSDI, all the beneficiaries qualify. They are Social Security, SSDI, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, all of you. This would be $2,400 to $2,600. It's $200 a month. It's an emergency stimulus check that would land in your bank account every month on top of your existing benefits all the way to December 31st. Then you would get up to a 20% increase year to date, one time, lifetime. So if you normally get $1,000 a month, you will get $1,200 a month, lifetime. But we're not done then. Then there's a third item. The third item is you would qualify for a step up every year based upon a new index other than COLA. COLA is that index that doesn't really move. And so the Biden plan wants to tie your benefits to another index which moves up more frequently. If you've seen cost of milk and eggs going up, this is something you categorically need. If you have more questions about this, tune into Check at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time, followed by Purple 20 minutes thereafter, and Be in the Mix. Those 3 recordings, I detail a lot of extensive details about what you need to know with this. Following that is Purple Power Live and Evenings Check. And on Purple Power Live, I answer your questions on camera. Now let me go over to some holiday decor. With holiday decor, one of the number one questions I get is, how do you stay consistent in your theme and not go overboard? And what I've done in the LALATE sets today in the studio is I've brought in 2 reefs as production is working on other things for the look of the set. And what's important to understand is here you have one reef right behind me, which is the same color hue of the set. And then you have hanging on the cabinet a blue reef. What do you think? Do you think the blue reef works, or do you think the one behind me works? This is my thought of the subject. First of all, drop your comments below. I'd love to hear your comments about the blue reef versus the beige reef. My opinion is the blue reef does not work. I generally don't like to do something too contrasting that just confuses the eye. You see on my shoulder, this shoulder, almost all the color hues are in the yellow and beige and creams. They're all sort of monochromatic and very gentle with pops of beige, which are in the same light category. The reef over this shoulder is consistent. It has beiges, which complement the pine cones. It has white, which complements the candles. And it has a little bit of green, which complements the flower and the pot. But when you go to the reef hanging, which is blue, it's sharply contrasting. There's nothing bluish in the set, and so the blue really pops. Then you have 2 geese sitting at the top of the reef, which are very blue and white. Does it work? Some people like a contrast. What do you think? Do you like a contrast, or you do like it all consistent? I rather keep it a little bit more consistent, and then if I want to have it something really bold, then I go much more bolder. I don't particularly like the blue reef in the set because I think the blue is too much of a distraction and not bold enough to make a statement. So in my opinion, I would keep things in the more consistent color pattern of the reef over my shoulder because it's consistent with the hues of the set. Now, how do you know when to go too bold and too light? And how do you know whether to keep shine or not shine? You see everything in the set behind me is relatively shineless. There's flickerings of the candles. Here is an example of where shine kicks in. Now, in this look, you see a box of balls. This is from Target. And you can see the shine of the balls. They have glitter, they have shine, they have reflection, and they have a matte finish. The balls, ironically, are all in the same color palette of the set. If I move to this side, let's see if I can move here. If you see on this side, they're actually consistent with the color palette of the reef behind me. And while they're a little bit texture contrasting with more shine to them, they're still in the color palette. But do you go bold with shine, reflection, and sparkle, or do you keep it all matte? My opinion is you go bold. You go bold with shine and sparkle, but not overboard. This is not a disco. This is not Studio 54. This is not a night at the Roxy. This is the holidays. And so ultimately, you don't want people to come in and say, where's the pole in the middle of the dining room? Is there a dancer coming out later? You want it to be delightful and enchanting, but not too much. Clearly, with a box of ornaments this big, there's a little bit too much in even a set this small. So you would never, in their right mind, have all these balls. But you can clearly see that at least even this ball here has a nice accent that could bounce off the wreath. Where do you put it and how do you put it? I would never put a ball of these type of magnitude in a wreath like that, which is more sedate and more classy. These are much more flashy and bold. I would put them somewhere else. For example, if they were in the set behind me, I wouldn't put next to the glass because they were contrasting. But if the glass was not there, they would certainly pair very nicely with the pine cones. You see, when you keep your color pattern relatively in the same hue, you do well. Creams, beiges, golds are safe bets. They're also non-denominational. And so what's important to understand is when you keep things relatively non-denominational and relatively color palette simple, you can use them more than just around the holiday season. What's incredible great news is that when you're talking about a wreath behind me like this one, or a wreath hanging on the cabinet, both of them are not just holiday wreaths. They're seasonal, and you can keep them year-round. There's nothing that says what season this is, and there's nothing that says what season that is. That's the benefit of keeping decor, which you can use year-round, but still festive, and keep that holiday spirit. Ultimately, what's important to understand is you don't need to spend anything during the holiday season if you don't have anything. You can repurpose what you have, and in Holidays LALATE, I always talk about finding natural elements in the environment, in the yard, outside, on the street, in trees or down trees, pine cones, things that are free that fall. Don't go to your local store and spend $30 on a box of pine cones. Pick them off the street. This is what they're intended to be. The number one trick: watch for when it's windy. When it's windy, much of God's greatest creations fall to the ground and they're there for you to pick up. And with that, I hope you have a great afternoon, and join me on Afternoons LA to start at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. Go to the Frontage channel, subscribe if you've not, and also like this video. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay LA for more.